I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we'll start with the first item on the agenda, which is roll call. When I say your name, please introduce yourself. Lori.
I was first. Hello. Hi. Here. I didn't know I'd be first. I was all like, whoa.
Oh, no. You're introduce yourself and your function.
Oh, well, hello. I'm Lori Vietz. I'm a parent rep.
Thank you. Emily.
Emily Holberg, teacher rep.
Mira.
Mira Weber, principal.
Cindy.
Cindy Boitola, parent rep.
Sarah.
Sarah Ogato, parent rep.
Kate.
Kate Krasinski, parent rep.
Nick.
Nick Hall, teacher rep.
Marilyn.
Marilyn Rosario Caro, staff rep.
Kirsten.
Kirsten Clay, parent rep.
Sandra. You're on mute, Sandra, if you're talking.
Sorry, had too many windows open. Sandra Richmond, community rep.
And I'm Tina Holder King, parent rep. Thank you, everyone. The next item we get to, actually, are we recording, Mira?
We will be in 1 minute.
Okay.
I don't know why it's so hard for me to remember.
Well, I didn't remember to ask you before now.
There we go. We're recording.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple housekeeping things before we move on to number 3. The timeline for the principal evaluation is skewed a bit with all the changes that were made to the whole year with election of the new council and things. And so because we are going to be talking about that process tonight, we decided to have a little bit of an abbreviated agenda. So that's why we don't have a principal report on there. Let's see. And also just for the sake of time and also coordination with the CIWP being finalized in the middle of this month, then the committee feedback, it's fine on the agenda here, but we're just going to move that action item to the June meeting because that way committees can consider the action items that come out of the CIWP as well as the survey information from the last survey you sent out, Mira. So just want to let everyone know that. Let's see. So now approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
Was that Mira?
Cindy.
Cindy, I'm sorry. Okay. There's a second?
I'll second. This is Sarah.
Thank you. Okay, it has been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved. Is there any discussion?
The only thing I noticed, there's no IB report on this month's agenda, and I know we received one. And again, I didn't know because I know some things were moved. Are we going to do that this meeting, or do we want to keep that? Because it's also a May-June report, so I didn't know which one we wanted it on.
Oh, okay. You know what, Nick? Yeah, I noticed that as well. And also the fundraising item was left off too, although I did follow up with FOB to see if there was anything they needed to discuss. I know there were no proposals to present. I am fine either way. I guess in the interest of time, I'm fine with leaving it to the June meeting, but I understand that there is definitely work that goes in and there's some good information in there. So I'm fine either way. Is there any other opinion?
Tina, just so I understand, are we removing committee updates from this one? Is that what you're saying?
We don't have to remove it. When we get to it, I'll just say there are no updates. No need to remove it.
Oh, right. Okay, so I'm just in the interest of time then and everything that would go into June, I guess I would think IB would then just go today. Just because in June, if we're doing committee updates and CIWP and budget, that it might make sense to do it today.
Okay, I thought CIWP and budget were the special meeting.
They are. That's what I'm saying. Oh, not June. I'm sorry. Next, May 12th. I'm sorry. You're saying committees would be in June.
Right.
Got it. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. No, that's
Oh, no,
fine.
that's okay. So do we want to move IB or keep it or add it to the agenda tonight? There's nothing to vote on, so we can definitely add it as a discussion point, and it is a standing item that we decided.
I'm fine with either.
I say since the 8th graders just wrapped up their community project, maybe just give a little discussion about it and give some kind of props there. And
That's a good point.
yeah, they worked hard. So maybe just keep it on.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Cindy. Thank you. Yeah, that's an excellent point. I propose amending the motion to approve the minutes with the modification of adding the IB report as item 6, and then rearranging the numbering as needed subsequent to that.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion on the new motion? Okay, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand or give a thumbs up. Okay, any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, Sandra, do you have the count?
Yeah, it's unanimous. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I can't see everyone. Thank you. All right, the motion carries unanimously that IB report will be added as number 6 to the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We have 2 separate minutes approvals. We'll just start with the March regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve the March meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
This is Sarah. I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of approving the March minutes as, okay, sorry. I thought you guys all of a sudden had questions. Okay, all right. We'll go to a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, Sandra, do you have the count?
Yeah, I can't see everyone on my screen, but it looks like all yeses. Yes.
Okay, if your vote was something else, please speak up so that we have it captured correctly. Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the March minutes. Next, we have approval of the minutes from the April meeting. Is there a motion?
Can I ask a quick question? Can we just raise our hands instead of voting? Because then she can look at the chat and see how many hands up there are, and you don't have to keep scrolling through the screens.
Oh, you mean the little icon thing?
Yeah.
Sure, I'm fine
Sorry.
with that.
Just it would do things faster if everyone was okay with that.
Is there a motion for the April minutes?
I motion to approve the April minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Kate, I second.
Okay, any discussion? I had just a couple of corrections. Gotta find my paper here, bear with me. Okay, just the for the roll call, it would be, well, let me go back. So just a correction of the numbering. I think everything came out as the number 1. except for public participation. So just a correction of the numbering before it's uploaded to the website. So that correction, and then also for roll call, I think we are missing Mac.
I'm here.
Oh no, I mean hi Mac. I mean for the in the documentation of the April minutes. You were at the April meeting, correct?
Yeah, sorry, I just snuck in. I was
Okay, that's all right.
hoping I made it right under the wire for a vote or something.
Yeah, so we just need to add Mac's name to the roll call. And there was one action item, one old action item that was left off, and that was Nick for you to follow up for coordinated parent-centered outreach for the enrichment activities, the after school. Do you remember that? Okay, so that action item should be listed under the action items and next steps. Is there any more discussion? So I would ask that the motion be amended to approve the minutes with the following corrections: adding community member Mac Labune to the roll call, adding Nick's action item for the coordinated parent center rollout for after the out of time activities, and the correction of the numbering formatting. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who was that, Mac?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there discussion on the amended motion? Okay, we'll go to a vote, please. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Sandra, do you have the count?
Yep, looks unanimous.
Okay, thank you. So the motion to approve the April minutes with the suggested corrections passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5, which is budget. I'm a little off today. Budget transfers and approvals. Mary, did you want to project?
Yep, I'll present now.
Yeah, present. That's a better word.
It will both work, you know. All right, here we go. Okay, so today, just want to make sure everyone's totally clear. This presentation is actually year-end budget. This is not 2022. So I just want to make sure everyone who's watching knows next week's special meeting will be the presentation of next year's budget. As those of you who've been around every year there are funds at the end of a school year that we are able to drop and repurpose to different line items. This year there's a substantial amount, and I'm going to kind of walk through why. So I wanted to make sure we had time to discuss it and have a separate meeting so that we could better understand this budget before moving into the next budget. Sorry, why isn't it moving? There we go. So just again, vision and mission, why we do the work, and as again part of the renaming and equity work, this is 2 statements that will be revisited in the coming year to make sure they're reflective of the values that were identified throughout our renaming process. So to go through kind of end of year transfers, we have funds that are available in 3 different areas. The union funds that you'll see, every union member receives $250 in supply money from the union each year. When there are funds that have not been used by a staff member, if given written approval, we can take those funds and transfer them for school-wide use. So you'll see here $4,000 from union funds, which means that some of our teachers who hadn't used all of their money allowed us to use that money now and repurpose it for school purposes. Transition support, this really means we had some students transfer in from other schools, charter schools, and there's funds that follow those students to help ensure transition. These are some of the funds that are left from that, and they are allowed to be used to support the specific students who attend our school now, but can also be used to help support others as long as those students specifically benefit from the funds as well. So we'll talk through that. And then benefits, this is a big chunk of money, and benefits fall every year just based on, you choose your benefits in January once budgets are already in. And so if we're paying more in our funding for budgets and benefits change, we end up getting some money back. In addition, staff that may have been with us when we budgeted last year may not be with us currently. And so if they made more in salary or were carrying higher benefits than others, those funds then drop back to the school at a certain point in the year. So in total, we have roughly $73,792 for our school to budget to use for the end of this school year. And I say that because there were certain things that we had talked about potentially using this money for, but you can only use this money. Like we couldn't purchase something now that would only be in use for next year. So my example being, if we have subscriptions for online educational technology that like a contract expires in July, we can't use this money to fund something for the next fiscal year. And so anything that like falls into that category has to come from the next year's budget, which is what we'll be reviewing next week. So what I can say, and what the proposal is here, it's broken down into different categories. So there's 4 categories. Specifically under curriculum and textbooks, I'll speak first to the diversity and culture text. Those are books for classroom libraries to be to help us continue on our path of being more culturally responsive, to have texts that represent the student body in our building. And then the phonics, the 2 phonics programs are really in response to what staff and parents have been talking about with the need to have more of specific and implicit phonics instruction built into our literacy block. So these 2 programs, the phonics, the Calkins phonics bundles for grades 1st and 2nd, kindergarten already has them, will allow us to build out our Calkins units. She has specific units of study that are specific to phonics work and how to embed that throughout. And then the foundations program, which is Wilson, some of our teachers have already been trained. We had an opportunity last year through another school to receive some training. This would provide our K-2 teachers, each classroom, their own kits to use foundations as a regular phonics instructional program. Under extended day and planning, IB unit writing. So this would be used primarily to update and revise our units before year end. So between now and June 30th, looking at current units, updating based on feedback given through kind of the IB department that's been helping us look through our units, but as well as just updating, based on the learning and work that we've done this year. Professional development under equity and race text, each staff member would receive 2 pieces of text to read over the summer if they choose, but would be used all of next year for professional development. So the idea being we'd give them out before the end of this year, start talking through how it would be used, and then, ideally reading some over the summer, but can't require that. So some of that work would continue into next year, obviously. IB training. In May, we have teachers attending training sponsored by IB. So this pays for them to be able, it covers like a sub or an extended day pay for them to attend the training. Cornerstone, which is a company that does professional development around inquiry and inquiry cycles, would be in June on our last PD day of the year as a staff. And then under technology, a large part for student Chromebooks. So as we know, going into next year and as more students return to our buildings who have been using technology all year, there will be some kids who do not have technology. There will be some devices that are damaged or broken. So this is to get devices into our building this year to help prepare and make sure that we're ready for any of that, or even for kids this year that are already experiencing some of those problems with technology, with devices, as well as we have some of the older models which will no longer be supported by CPS. So we wanted to make sure we covered as much as we could for the devices that will not be supported moving forward. And then last but not least, smartboard subscriptions. This is not for the actual purchasing of a smartboard. This is to make our smartboards interactive so that students can engage and teachers can move things and use their smartboard as more of an interactive teaching tool versus just like a projection board. So that's really it. I talked pretty quickly. So LSC members did get this in advance. So if there are questions, feel free to ask now. I'm going to stop projecting because then I can actually see who's asking me questions. If you need me to turn it back up, I can after.
Oh, Mira, a couple of questions. I know you mentioned the for the phonics balance literacy tier 1, the Calkins phonics bundle. Can you give a little more background information as far as the teacher feedback and the parent feedback and what this is aiming to help address?
Yeah, so specifically, there's been a couple of parents, I think, who've actually spoken about it at LSC meetings, but feeling, not just feeling, but based in research also. So Lucy Calkins herself has said, like, her units of study did not incorporate phonics specific explicit instruction. So she has come out with some research saying it's needed and kind of revamping her own theories and methodologies. We've had some parents say, like, for struggling readers, really needing more direct phonics instruction, especially in kindergarten. We've also had teachers say, you know, some of my students are really struggling with phonemic awareness and identifying letters and sounds, and we don't have built-in phonics instruction that's explicit, that's every day, that's part of our literacy block. So to address kind of both the research, parent concern, as well as teacher concerns around what our students are showing, this is to really make sure that within our literacy blocks, there is solid research-based phonics instruction happening. And like I said, Lucy Calkins, our teachers are well familiar with kind of the way that she writes and does her work. The Foundations, which is a Wilson program, is highly recommended also. And we were very fortunate last year to have some of our teachers be able to go to a training that another school had already paid for, and they just said, come join us. So we benefit from that. And so to bring that on now, we already have people in-house who know it and have been to the training. And it's one of the more well-known phonics programs. So we feel really confident with that fitting into what we already do.
So it will readers across groups benefit from this? So
yeah. So the Lucy Calkins is tier 1. I put this, now I'm going to explain. Lucy Calkins is tier 1. Every kid, every class, all the time, built into our literacy cycles. Foundations can be looked at as a tier 1, but it also can specifically be looked at pulling small groups and doing targeted interventions with small groups, or tier 3, which is like an everyday group of 1 or 2 students, and that's high intensity. And Foundations is known to kind of be one of those more intense intervention programs as well, where Lucy Calkins is more a general tier 1, everyone gets it.
Okay.
That's kind of why I wanted to show the different ways they can be used in different levels.
Oh, okay. So it does include diverse learners.
Yes. Oh, Foundations is actually, when we sent staff last year, it was many of our diverse learner staff.
Okay.
It's a very strong program for diverse learners and the way the different kinds of thinking and learning.
Okay, great. It's excellent news. A couple requests with the diversity and culture text. I should say questions first and requests. So with the diversity, culture text and the equity, race text, have those been selected yet, or?
Yes.
Okay.
If you ask me for every classroom title, I will not know it, but I could easily get it for you. If for staff text, we will be in the two titles. So you want to talk about race and white fragility.
And with the selection of the diversity, culture text as well as the staff, how are those selections or choices made?
Yeah, no, good question. The staff ones were made with Carol and the Office of Equity, building off of, we actually had 2 of our grade level team meetings today, and the texts were not used themselves, but building off some of the work we're doing in May and June, feeling like it was a really natural fit, but also a read that wasn't going to be so dense and so intense that if you're reading it over the summer and you're not like with someone right away to discuss it, that it would still be really good context and knowledge to then build off of once we're back with more dense kind of, we need to engage together all the time to really parse it out. So it's more of a building background and understanding on our own. We'll obviously discuss it together, but not a text like culturally responsive brain development, which was another one I was thinking of. But the feedback was really, that's going to be too hard of a read to do on your own. That's like shorter chunks coming together more often. And so decided to hold on that until we've done some more professional development together. And then look at that text as a unit, not kind of on our own over time.
Okay. And will Carol be involved in that professional development?
Yep, she was there with me today. She'll be with me next week, co-facilitating. We planned it together and she'll continue. Yep.
That's great. That's great.
Can I ask a question along there? It's Lori.
Hang on just a second, Lori, just a minute. For the diversity culture text, can you follow up and provide those texts? I'm just curious of the titles.
Yes, I will ask Miss Perillis worked on that a lot for me, so I will write myself a note right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm done. Lori, you want to go ahead?
Sure. I'm going to stick with that one, then I'll go back. So is it possible for the LSC to also have the opportunity to read the texts? I think that as a team that we're working with the staff, like part of this team, that maybe we have the opportunity to read them as well. I just wanted to say, maybe you saw my face, my reaction to white fragility. There's a lot of research about that book being very problematic. And so I'm just putting it on the record that I'm saying that I know that, because you may have seen my facial reaction. You all know I don't hide my face very well. But I think it would be valuable for us as a group to also be included and make sure that the people on our, CIWP are all on the same page. Also, I would also follow up that knowing what books are being written or are being sent into the classrooms is really valuable. I would like to say, is there a chance that we can put on an LSC agenda, and I know not coming up because we have so many, about the Calkins and the reading, and now you did a great, thank you, Mara, you did a great explanation, but maybe looking at more of that, putting in a reading specialist. I just want to throw that out there, following up with, I see that parent who spoke about it is not in the meeting right now, but I know that she sent out stuff. So that would be great to talk about reading specialists, diverse learners, and things like that.
Yeah, I did follow up with that parent specifically. She does know that we're getting those 2 pieces of material, not material, but
that's awesome.
Those 2 programs.
And then finally, can we get some more information on who Cornerstone is? Like, what is the name of the group? Like, I just tried to Google it when we were doing it, and there's so many. Like, who is this professional development? What is their focus? And who are they? Sometimes I like to follow the money and see who is sponsoring things like that. So I would love to get more information on who Cornerstone is.
I can certainly get that. Well, that would be Ms. Perillis and Ms. McNally also. So I'm just making myself a list here.
couple of questions. Thank you, Mira, for just really thinking through what we have and how we can use those funds and how that plugs into what we can do before the end of the school year happens, which is 6 weeks and counting, right? The transition support funding, you said that it is pretty flexible, but there are some dollars that do follow students. Could you unpack that line item a little bit more? And then, what kind of supports, do those students have? Do those students still need those supports? How flexible? What does that line item entail? And just a couple follow-up questions, but yeah, I'll pause there.
Okay. Yeah, this is the first time we received those transition dollars. So it's learning for us too. And Marilyn's been doing this and kind of tracking it and working with the family. But so an example would be, if they're purchasing texts, that they would be part of a book read with those texts. Or if they need devices, that they would be the first ones to get the devices. It could mean out of school time supports, although in this specific situation, that's not where it's going because it's the end of the school year, but that's an example of what it could look like. So there's wide variance. And Miss Caro, Marilyn is in contact with the family, really thinking through and having conversations about what is needed. And then there's like requirements on how often we check in, how has their transition gone, what do they need, are they comfortable? So it is really not just about like the funding and the purchasing as much as it's also been like Marilyn's been that point of contact and having a personal touch and a connection with the school.
So students are good to go, they're supported, and these really are dollars that we can really use. That was the first question. And thank you so much for unpacking that. Is it an echo when I talk, or is it just an echo when other people talk?
I think it's when I have my mic on and you have your mic on. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that folks can hear. So going back to some of the questions that Tina had asked about the equity and race text, and I love how we're thinking about hooking in where we're going and where we're at this year and moving into next year, knowing and recognizing that we're using or applying this equity lens into our CWP. And then also recognizing that there's a big chunk of our CWP on SEL, and just also kind of thinking about ways in which SEL is are there opportunities that we can think about SEL supports for SEL in this budget fall that we have. And then also we know that we have some incredible teacher leaders at Agassiz, and thinking about there may be teachers and staff and even LSC board members, when we provide these resources to all teachers, are there teacher leaders, like, do we want to think about a train the trainer model as we think about allocating these resources for this year? If there's availability and and folks are willing to bring that on, just so that we could maybe how we can optimize those types of supports for next year. I guess the question really boils down, is it better to give resources to all or resources to all who are excited and looking forward to it, and then we have some peer-to-peer support for next year?
No, really good question. And we did talk through this a lot and really boiled down to the work on equity. We think everyone really needs it. So in this case, being able to all have our hands on text and all get some background information and move forward together. There may be a point in time where like there's specific trainings or development sessions that we can only send some to, but to have, that kind of background for everybody and exposure for everyone, we felt was really important in this particular point in time. It doesn't mean that moving forward, it will always have to be that way. There's certainly times where we've divided into like groups based on interest and then shared out from there. And I certainly think there's a place for that. But this was really more about getting everyone exposed and having at least a common platform and common level of understanding before moving into more of a differentiated model.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions or discussion?
Just kind of along those lines, I see that there's a chunk of money going towards professional development for IB training, but is there any professional development around diversity and equity that can happen? I know we're barreling down the path to the end of the year, but is there any training that could happen and be utilized as the teachers move into the summer? I think, exposing them to the books and the literature is one thing, but I think, it's hard to start on. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be any money in the fall to do the professional development that needs to be done.
No, good, really great questions. So the short answer is the professional development sessions are really built into the fall budget. So that'll be coming next week. This spring, they're really in terms of a teaching social justice, they're booked solid. They were booked last spring for this spring. So in that regard, no. Some of our staff are still going to facing history sessions that are being offered throughout the rest of this year. But throughout the rest of this year, primarily it'll be us working with Carol and the Office of Equity to do PD kind of through our grade level teams and meetings, and then getting these texts and start having some common conversations and reading. But next week you'll see in the budget, and I'll just tell everyone now, Friends of, and my proposal is another 10,000 like Friends of has so graciously done before to help fund staff professional development for next school year. And that's separate from IB. So yeah, there would be a delineation there.
One last thing, sorry. Any funding carried to the end of this year for SEL for the kids? Anything that could be extra? Because they're talking. I'm
not sure I understand.
Well, did Sarah, you said that there's a huge chunk pertaining to social emotional, right? Is that what I'm thinking, or no?
I'm unpausing, so I apologize if there's an echo, but I was just saying I didn't see anything on the not the carryover, but for the spend down with regards to SEL. And maybe Mary, you can speak more. Maybe there is, but I don't see that on this particular budget. And I know that that is a big piece on the CIWP.
Yeah, so I was wondering if there was, I see, can any of the transition support monies, if they're not all allocated, can some of those monies go towards SEL for the end of this year for the kids?
I guess I'm not, for the purpose of tonight, I would say no, because I'm not really clear what that would look like. And I would have to have approvals tonight in order to move funds, in order to meet deadlines for end of year purchasing, which is in 2 weeks. And I'm not really sure what that would look like right now, or what we'd be funding. So I'm not opposed to having conversations about that and thinking through some of those pieces or getting ideas for fall. I just don't really have an understanding as what we'd be doing with those funds in this moment.
Okay, I just questioning because I love our Wellness Wednesdays. They are talking about some pretty heavy duty things. I know that, social emotional issues are huge and rampant at this point, and just didn't know if we had some extra money to think of something creative to just support that a little bit more.
All right, let me give some thinking to that, just to better wrap my head around it. I don't want to say things that are not accurate. So let me just take a bit to think through what some of those things could look like.
Anything else? Okay, I don't see anyone with their hand raised or anything. So we need to vote on this. Is there a motion?
I motion. This is Kate.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Kate.
Oh, thank you. Redundant, but or maybe seem anal, but you need to state your motion, please.
I motion to approve the budgetary transfers that Ms. Weber presented. That's good enough.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any additional discussion? Okay, we'll move to vote. Please use your icon or raise your hand. All in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Sandra, do you have the count?
Yeah, it's unanimous.
Okay.
This raise hand tool is very easy for me to use, by the way.
Awesome. Good job, Kate. Okay, the motion carries unanimously. The budget transfers are approved. Next on the agenda, which has been amended, is the IB report, which the council has received ahead of time. Are there any comments or questions regarding the IB report?
This is Sarah. I just wanted to give a shout out. Really, as a parent, appreciated the student-led conferences. It was just a really great way to get the youth hooked into their learning, talking about that, and my husband and I thoroughly enjoyed seeing our son just step into that space nervous, but then coming out with confidence and feeling supported. So really do appreciate that model. So thank you for, and I know this wasn't easy because this took time, and you know, I remember my son, he was nervous about it, but it took time, and so I appreciate just that process. I did have a quick question. I know that we're looking at an IB report integrating the national standards as well as, there's another standard that was referenced that you're working to integrate into the units. I hate to be on the bandwagon again, but are we also looking at how we're integrating the SEL standards into those IB units? So that was my question.
Yeah, that they've already been looking at. So that was already kind of in the works, and then the social justice kind of that lens has been in addition to.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to say, and I think Cindy mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting, just, you know, props to the 8th graders for completing community projects in the middle of a very non-regular year. And I was wondering, can we, so I know, like, I know where to find them, but I doubt how many people in general know, like, you know, how to even find the IB page on the Agassiz website, where to, so Mira, would you be able to put them in this week's principal post, just like something about, you know, 8th graders finished their community projects, and like, if you want to find them, you can find them here. I think that would be nice to advertise that, just for all the hard work they put in, and as well as Miss Craig and Miss McNally, who led them during this whole time in completing those projects. So again, props to the kids and the teachers.
Absolutely, and totally agree to highlight them. Michelle and I had talked about that, and I'm sure she's going to have something fabulous for me to put into the post.
Did you say fabulous for the post?
I did.
Yeah, I mean, the report and what Miss Craig said, her reflection was, I think, just spot on. Just, you know, they started in November. It was challenging, but like the amount of work, the amount of communication that they had to do during these projects, like emailing Miss Weber, myself, the engineer, anybody who like pertained to their project, they really stepped it up. Some kids did really take action. You know, some had a plan and it didn't go to fruition, and that's the process, right? Like you have a plan, it doesn't always work out, and then you reflect on that. So it was amazing. Ms. Craig certainly did a wonderful job. The one thing we did different this year was connected. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, I think you're aware, the civics course for 8th grade that is now an Illinois mandate this year. The last thing that they have to do with that civics course is take action. So we tied that into the community project. And then those kids who wanted to take action and have people come and do donations, we then further added to the Agassiz Give Back Week. So everything was like integrated, everything like just blended together. And I think, you know, when you can make those connections for kids, it really does help. And they're like, oh, all of these things do align, and it makes it more meaningful. So it really, yeah, we will celebrate their work, not only on the projects that we could put on the website. Some of them are locked and I don't have access to, so I have to keep asking kids to provide me access. So we'll get more up, but we'll also recognize those, you know, outstanding projects as we do every year at the end of the year.
That's great. One question about the units that have to be submitted, I guess the BQC, the Building Quality Curriculum. Now, when you have to submit something like that, does it have to be in final format? Does it have to be exactly what you're going to roll out as the unit?
So it's the unit that we are most proud of. It's any unit that's been taught and assessed within the last, you know, because, you know, every evaluation cycle for MYP is 5 years. So it's any unit that's been taught and assessed. So what we're doing now is really trying to enhance our units, make them is easy to understand to someone who's never been in our building and perhaps may not even know about our standards, because these are evaluators from all around the world. So they might not know or understand our Illinois standards or national standards. So we have to really kind of, like Mr. Hall can speak to this, like he just, you know, listed the standards, like, and it's numbers, right? So it's Common Core, state standard, you know, or whatever, you know, whatever his art standards are. And then there's a number attached. And I'm like, Mr. Hall, the people reading this don't know what that is. So then you have to like write in detail what those standards are and what the kids are, what you're teaching for those standards and what the kids are expected to take away from that. So it's a little bit more in depth than a typical unit that people are writing, just to make it more digestible for those the readers, and so they can give really meaningful feedback. And then the next step will be, we'll submit it in September, get our feedback in, I think it's February. And then when they come out for evaluation, we speak to the fact that we took their feedback and made further enhancements. So, you know, IB is a journey, it's a cycle, it's a process. So we are never done.
Well, you guys are obviously working hard. Thank you for that. I appreciate the explanation. Thank you. Did anyone else have anything regarding the IB report? Nope. Okay. We will move on to item number 7, which is principal evaluation process and timeline. Like I mentioned, the timeline for things are kind of skewed, and what we have versus what we don't have is kind of skewed, as well as there was no evaluation in the fall, no SQRP, no NWEA data, none of that stuff. So our charge is to complete the annual evaluation. And so I sent out a bunch of stuff to the council, and you know, like my email said, I didn't want you guys to panic when you saw the number of attachments, because it wasn't anything that needs to be reviewed for this meeting tonight. It was simply pieces that we can talk through now to hammer out a process that we're all comfortable with, that meets the timeline that we have before us, and we have an understanding of how we are going to evaluate, what our individual responsibilities are, what we'll do when we come together as a group collectively. So there are a few things that I wanted to ask right off the bat. And Mary, you've been through this, of course, many times, so please jump in if I'm getting something out of order. Now, were you planning on Mira submitting a self-evaluation?
All right, I have two computers and I can't remember which mouse is which sometimes. I certainly can. What I've kind of done the last few years is not really submit a self-evaluation as much as compile all the stuff from the entirety of the year. But I think I haven't looked at your email yet, to be honest with you, from today, but
No, that's
I think
fine.
you did maybe do some of that already, so I'm not sure.
Okay, I just wanted to, of course, extend the opportunity. So I did, and anyone who wants to jump in at any time, please raise your hand and I'll stop chatting away, stop explaining. So my email did have just the principal reports from this school year, and then for those meetings where there wasn't a formal principal report, but you presented something else, that's included in the email as well. So I did include that information, but didn't know if there was something else that you wanted to provide as a self-evaluation. Also, if there are any other pieces of information that you would like considered, or anyone else on the council that we would like to think about as we perform this evaluation. Now, one thing I did send is the Part 5 from the Local School Council Resource Guide. And that has a lot of information as far as what our role is, the different sources of information that we can use to perform our individual evaluations, recommendations for how we do this as a council. So there's a lot of information there. And then also there was Appendix G, which is very useful, I think, because it goes through the competencies that we'll be scoring and gives some ideas as to pieces of information that may be considered as you formulate your score. And they aren't pieces that we have to somehow come together and go get. They are the regular pieces of information that we receive throughout the school year.
I mean, I guess I can say, if it's okay with people, I'll look through what you sent out tonight. If there is something that I feel like I see as like needing additional or something that's not there, I certainly will send that to people. But I haven't looked at, I'm assuming what you sent us is great, but I will certainly look through it. And then I don't know if there's something else that anyone else would specifically be asking for, but I'm really sorry, I haven't looked at everything that was just sent.
Oh, no, that's okay. Again, it's just stuff that we've already received as far as material for evaluation. And there's also, as we go through this process, there's also the opportunity for people on the council to reach out to Mira if you have questions, or if you have, okay, I'm wondering how you address this competency. That is allowed. Reach out and if you have conversations, if you have questions, reach out to her and get feedback, have that conversation with her. Let's see what else. Just to kind of summarize some. Oh, did I hear someone have a question or something?
This is Kate. I just had a quick question. Just looking at, because I started looking through a bunch of the evaluation forms. Is anything specific to this year, or is all of it kind of a normal year? Or is some of this adapted for not having a lot of the data that we would normally have? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, are we just making do with what we've got? Or is there actually like a new rubric that takes out some of the data pieces? Because just like with the, just in the timeline, which I know we're not following the old timeline, but like so much of it was NWEA growth connected.
Yeah.
So we're doing all of this without any of that data, correct?
Yes,
So
they said the only thing that for this year is there will be no growth on there. There will be none.
Okay.
So just forget all that growth stuff, and the rest is based on the, you know, the competencies left over.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
I guess with that, no recognizing we don't have any growth data and not any academic, data as it relates to NWA or in that regard. I will save my comment for later. Thank you. Sorry.
So
Okay.
did you want to divide some of this up to kind of go assign like a competency or look at the 28 key behaviors type of thing between the council, or to help out with this?
Well, I think, and definitely not saying this is the way we need to do it because we've always done like that. I don't subscribe to that being a reason for doing anything. But Nick, I know you're well versed in this. You can help explain, but I do think it's important that, and it may be even a responsibility, I'm not sure, that every individual member complete their own score for all the competencies. So Nick, if you can, you're good at summarizing how we've done this in the past, how we do the score and then come together. I think that has worked well for conversations and getting the data in. So I would propose following that, but Nick, if you could explain how we've done that.
Definitely. And, I know Mac, you've done it for 2 years, so pretty much, the form that at the end Tina has to submit to the board is that LSC principal evaluation form, English. That's the one, that's the final form with the 5 competencies. And what we've traditionally done is everyone fills out their form ahead of time. So that way, when we come to the meeting, so this will be the June meeting where we have the evaluation, we've all got our scores ahead of time. And then we meet as a council and kind of see where we're at. Usually we just average out the scores and see, what each competency score comes to. And then from there, we then have discussions on, do we want to add comments, things like that. So we have done years where we've prepared comments ahead of time. It really is, it kind of changes every year, but the end all is that the one thing that's never changed, every year is that everyone has done their own rating, and we do that as a group discussion, finalizing the score. And in cases, I know it has happened with some of the competencies are clearly more, geared towards teachers responding or rating. And in those cases, it's perfectly fine to say, look, I wasn't sure about this, but this is what I thought it would be. And definitely reach out, feel free to reach out to any member or Mira. I don't know if I've done a good job explaining it or made it even more confusing. The main thing is just getting the scores done before we meet, everyone having their rating before we meet so we can facilitate that process. I know we've done it where we've all shown up with our scores and then tabulated them. Last year, because we were virtual, I created a Google form that people filled out and it auto-filled out a form. So it really is up to anyone's comfort if you're fine with that. And actually I used Mac, your form from 3 years before that, kind of use that. Yeah, I don't know.
So just to thank you, Nick. You did a great job explaining. Thank you very, very much. And so just to summarize, the evaluation form that everyone received, you would score that individually. You would gather, get your questions answered, talk to who you want to speak with, consider the information that we've received over the last year, the principal reports and all the presentations and things, and complete the evaluation form on your own. Now, I do like the idea of the Google form worked really well because it saved time of entering that information in the meeting when we come to June. So, and then you're responsible for entering your own information. And so that worked really well. So I would propose that we go with that again. And then also so fill out your scores, and then it would be entering your information in the Google Doc. And then also in the past, as you formulate these scores, we've asked that you have some kind of example or comments you can share if asked if how you came about to your score, so that we could facilitate discussion, especially if there are wide variances in scores across the council. Then we would be able to talk through that. So as you complete your score, that is something that we would ask members to do. So then in the June meeting, we would come together with all those scores already entered and be able to have those discussions. And then it would be a matter of averaging those numbers to come to a score that would be submitted. Are there any questions, or is there anyone who would like to modify the process as proposed?
And the only
Does it
part
work well? Oh, sorry. Does this work well, this process? It seems like a bunch of Lone Rangers out there. You know, it doesn't feel very collaborative, and I know I'm new to the process, but where does the collaboration and the sort of exchange of information happen?
So I'll say this. So as you complete the score as an individual, as you score as an individual, then whatever resources you're using to come to the decision how you want to score that's one piece. But as far as collaborative as a council, when we come together in June, we will know everyone's rankings, and so we will discuss all that, you know, and that's why I mean when we ask people to have evidence, so to speak, to back up your score, because as we get together and talk about, you know, what those scores are, that's a collaborative part of the process. And then also, and Nick and Mira, correct me if I'm wrong, there is the opportunity after we, this is down the line, but after we enter those scores and come up with a number, at another point, we will have the opportunity to decide whether or not we want to stick with that score or we want to change it, you know, based on, again, more discussion and collaborative effort.
And go ahead, Kate. Sorry.
I was just asking, the meeting we have in June is a closed door meeting, correct? It's not a public meeting when we all discuss the scores, correct?
Yes, that portion will be closed.
Okay. And then what portion is released to parents and the public forum? I guess my question is, are there certain things that Ms. Weber will see because it's her evaluation, and then are there certain parts of that are shielded from the public because it's an HR matter? Like, that's the part I don't get at the end as to what everyone sees.
So
Tina, do you want me to speak?
Yeah,
to that?
go ahead.
Yeah, I can do that. So the only people who will know everyone's individual scores are LSC members minus Mira. So Mira gets the final score for each competency. She doesn't know which council member rated her what. She just gets the final score that the LSC agreed upon. And the public, I believe, when we come out of the closed session, we simply take a vote to approve the rating that we came up with during the closed session. So
we don't state the number.
We don't state the number. So Mira obviously knows her rating and her numbers. The public just knows that we've done our duty of rating her, and just the LSC members in the closed session know what other members said or scored. And I was also just gonna respond to to Cindy and to actually all of our new LSC members, I totally understand how this can feel. My first year doing the evaluation, I was overwhelmed, but I had been on the LSC since the previous July. I can't even imagine just joining the LSC and then being tasked with doing it, 4 months later. I think for this year, I would highly suggest, going along with what we did last year. Tina was on the LSC, Marilyn was on LSC, myself, and Sarah was too. And I was very happy with the way it turned out, especially virtually. For next year, we can look at, we have in the past done teacher surveys. We've done surveys out to community. We've done surveys out to parents. But that obviously is something that takes time because we have to create the survey, get it approved by the law department, and so on. So I would say this year, let's just do our best in the time frame, and then we can do the best evaluation process ever next May, if that makes sense.
Well, I think actually
Thanks,
tomorrow
Nick.
we'll be able to revisit. We'll have the time to collaborate as a council and with Mira on, potential other things we want to consider, and just really have a robust, full cycle, the fall and the spring, but for now we have to complete this annual piece with a lot less data than we've had in the past, but we do have to complete it. Also, Mira, I wanted to ask you, Kate's question made me remember this. Would you like to have a feedback session? Because we will need to get that scheduled accordingly, if you would like to have that.
So usually we don't decide that until I have the actual evaluation. in my
Oh,
hand.
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, if you wanted to proactively.
You don't have to decide right now. You can. It's up to you. I was thinking I needed to, offer it tonight. But
Yeah,
if you
no,
want to wait, that's fine as well.
Typically we wait, but I mean, so what are you thinking in terms of, so you'll write it on the, I'm off base, you'll write it on the 2nd, right? The night of the 2nd? And then what are you thinking in terms of when I would get, I don't know if you want to put something on the calendar or not now, just to be safe, but if you're doing it on the 2nd, when do you anticipate I get it?
Well, my understanding and expectation, and Nick, again, please jump in if this is incorrect, is that we would pretty much have it final, except for maybe someone to type up the feedback, because we usually try to create some kind of feedback document. Other than finalizing that feedback document, I would think that things would be pretty much set following that June meeting. And so I would think that within 7 days, you should have that information.
I'm fine waiting unless people foresee their June is crazy. So if I'm on June 9th, I get it and I'm I want to have a meeting. If we anticipate that being hard to schedule, then we can certainly do it now and then just not need it. But I don't know.
Okay. You know what? Why don't we put a placeholder in? Okay. And then again, if we don't need it, that's fine. Is there a particular day of the week or?
Would Wednesday the 16th work? If you get it to me by the 9th and we do it a week later, is that fine with people? We may not need it, but yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll send that out as I guess it would have to be considered a special meeting, even though it would be private. Not private, but closed. Okay.
Yeah, you still have to post the agenda.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I think Kirsten.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, so to be clear, when do we need to have our individual evaluations completed?
So Nick will set up the Google sheet, right, Nick, for everyone to enter scores. And so Technically, your scores need to be entered. The meeting is June 2nd. And so I think just in the spirit of not being last minute, I would say the 48 hours before.
Oh, so we have almost a month.
Or yeah. I think even last
Okay.
year, like it was until like noon on the day of, because it really is from the Google form. It just goes right into the spreadsheet, which
Oh,
I
okay.
then share during the closed session with everyone, so they can double check their numbers that everything looks good.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So we'll say noon, June 2nd.
And so I know you said you don't want to do this, but how long would it take to get us just a brief survey approved by the law department so parents can just do a brief survey? I feel like we did that in the past, and it was
You
only.
know, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I feel like there was a parent survey in the past, nothing extensive, but like a brief questionnaire just for the LSC to consider.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure of the time that it takes as far as getting that through legal. Now, I will have to, honestly, I would have to confer with the Office of LSC Relations, because I don't know if the window for, if there was a certain window in needing agreement to do something like that, I'd have to follow up. That would be my only, that would be how I answer that question. So I can definitely take an action item to do that.
Thank you.
I had my hand up. I just want to let you know that there are approved LSC surveys that have already been approved by legal. Everybody's been sharing them in the LSC group. So if that was something that we decided to do, we could take one that has already been approved by legal. It's already gone through all those steps and submit it as our own. So it's not like we have to create something and then do it. There are surveys that have been approved by CPS at this point.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Kirsten. I think those are great points for now, and especially as we move into next year as well, to take the actions we need to take to be able to get parent feedback, staff feedback, and everything else.
Yeah, I think if there's any way we could get a survey together, even if it was very short, or I just feel like I usually get feedback by being on the playground, talking to parents, volunteering in the classroom, I'm usually in the school a lot. And in the last year, it really is kind of me judging from these meetings we've had and my experience with my child, which it is good, but it's one of the 500 kids at school and the 500 families that are having that experience. So I think I just feel like I have blinders on much more than I ever have about kind of what's going on and what everyone's experience is. And so if there was a way to get any feedback, I think it would be helpful for us in kind of getting a more diverse perspective on experiences this year.
I just want to piggyback on that. Tina, do you have anything I know I'm always impressed by how many parents are sitting through, and staff are sitting through these meetings all the time. Is there a way that, so if a survey doesn't come out, but there's an informed parent that has been attending these meetings and listening and does have something they definitely want to say, how would they share that information? What would you like them to do?
Thank you, Lori, for that question. A couple things. Now, Mira, I can't remember. Is my LSC personal emails on the website or no? Personal emails are? Okay.
I will double check, but I believe so.
Okay. So personal emails to any council member is an option. There's also the option of the LSC email, but for full transparency, both Mira and I do have access to that email. So there's no harm in sending things there, but I just want people to be aware of who's going to have eyes on what's sent, and then they can make that own judgment as far as which avenue is best for what they may want to send.
So if a parent was to reach out to me, let's say, or anybody, because they want that confidentiality. Can we then share that with you so that it's anonymous, or how, because it's an evaluation, how do you feel about gathering that kind of information?
Well, I feel like as long as the person who sent it is okay with you redacting and sharing, then I see no harm in that.
I would caution against going down this route, only because, like, I feel like we either, figure out how to get an official survey out, or, if a person emails me personally, then yeah, I've heard their feedback. I'm just concerned with, okay, well, because you happen to come to our meetings, to do this, but then how is that equitable for someone who can't come to these meetings and they haven't been given an opportunity, that same opportunity to share feedback? So I feel like it's either an official survey or, yes, just like Kate said, parents speak on the playground in a normal year, like they would be giving you feedback that way as a parent, not as an LSC member.
Then is it a possibility? Sorry, I do have parents reach out to me. Is there a possibility then that we put in the announcements, and that the room parents say, if you have feedback that you would like to share, please, it doesn't have to be a survey, which is check a box. I just feel like we all really kind of ran on that. We want to have more transparency, and we want to have parents have a voice. And I just want to find a way to help represent those parent voices and not just my own.
I want to say this. So I don't want to discourage any parent from providing feedback because we haven't distributed a survey equitably, because our emails, and we've talked about this in past meetings, I just wasn't sure if it had been done. I've talked about the availability of personal emails and emailing your council and emailing to the LSC email for whatever reason. And so I don't think this is any different. And also, I think hearsay is one thing. When someone says, well, this parent told me this, or this parent told me that, I think that's a little different than what a parent will, or what a person has in an email. Words can't be mistaken for something else. It is documented. But I will caution this, though, that is a piece of information. There is a lot of other information that should go into the scores that we decide as individual council members. And I think we are all savvy enough to understand that nuance.
I'm just going to say our emails are not on the website.
I would say the same thing. I just went to, it's only the LSC Agassiz Gmail account. There's none of our personal info.
Okay. Can we add that to action item here? Is that a quick update?
As long as everyone gives me approval.
If you're, this is not a vote, of course, this is just a.
No, I mean, like, individually.
If you're okay, raise your hand. If you're okay with sharing your email, let Mira know by raising your hand.
Can we clarify, wait, what are we, I thought the whole point of the LSC, because Mira sees the LSC email. I get it now. Okay, so if someone reached out, then how would this work? Sorry.
Oh no, this is just if say a parent that has a child in the same grade as you, not you because you don't have any kids at the school, but one of the other parent reps, and reached out to give some feedback about a specific circumstance or just there in general, saying, hey, I'm a new parent this year. My experience has been really good. I've been able to get the help and support, and then we are able to share that information. Or I would say even, it's part of the evidence when we come together in June, part of the evidence to substantiate the scores if it did play into the score that you put in your evaluation sheet. And so it's just our personal emails is giving community members, parents an option to submit feedback, other than a mailbox where Mira and I both have eyes on it.
And it's not, I don't think it's just for this. I think that there's so many topics that come up in meetings, and someone may realize that Sarah spoke to something that struck a chord with them and they want to reach out there, because we don't always, public participation can't happen in the moment. So afterwards, they might want to follow up with you. And so for me, I've always liked that. I also liked it when we had pictures on the web. Your school hasn't done this, but a picture of your LSC member. So here's me. So if you see me on the playground, that's me. It's a lot different now that we're
Suggestion that would maybe
accessible.
take all of this out of the equation. Can I just make an easy suggestion?
Sure.
I mean, for the time being, it requires work on your behalf, Tina, but I think that it is actually the most equitable is take me, change the password. I won't be able to see it. Use an inbox. Everyone honestly is supposed to have access to anything that would be used. It's supposed to be agreed upon. So take me out of the equation of the LSC mailbox. We can always put a password back, or you can share the new one with me later. But I think that's the most easiest and equitable way to do this, because it does not sound, it doesn't sound legit to me the way this is being discussed. Legit is probably not a real professional word, but I think it would be far more transparent and just easier done to just change the password and use that email.
Seconded. I think that's a reasonable idea.
And can we just say out loud the terms? So we are saying that if we get any feedback for the principal evaluation with in the LSC Gmail from this point forward, the council will see it, including everyone on the council except Ms. Weber, and no one who is on the council who's making these decisions will share the information that was shared or the person who shared it with anyone beyond the council, so that people feel like it is not anonymous. We will know who said it, but the comments and who spoke will not be shared beyond the council. It will stay in the private session, and we won't share it with anyone else. I just wanted to say that out loud, what the expectations are, because if we want people to use that email, and then we don't. I think in the future, we probably should put all of our emails on there, but I agree kind of for this period now and making sure it is transparent. I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
One clarification. Kate, did you say that any information submitted, the person submitting the information, their name would automatically be shared with the council?
I think if what we're saying is that everyone on the council theoretically should have access to what goes to that LSC, Agassiz LSC email,
Mm-hmm.
that I think if we are using a parent's report to that email amongst the 11 of us to make a decision on the principal's evaluation, it is fair for all of us to know who it is and what they said. I don't think we can really be blinding it and have it be anonymous and Tina know, but not me know, or any of that. I think for right now, that's the safest way to do it. If someone wants to give feedback and completely remain anonymous, we would have to have a survey. That's really the only way that could be done in a fair manner. Or unless someone wanted to talk to one of us in confidence, that would be something else. But I think people do those kinds of things all the time, but that's not really what we should be directing the proper channel to be right now. I think we should be eliciting feedback through the LSC Gmail and understanding that all of the information in that email would be shared amongst the council, the 11 of us who are making this decision. And so that's what I think, because I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a really other fair way of doing this without having proper planning months out, which we don't have that luxury anymore.
Okay. And thank you for clarifying that, Kate. And also I will add that I would like to, when I change the password, I would like to share it with another council member. So it's not just me seeing what's sent. It doesn't matter to me who that person is. So if anyone would like to volunteer, I'm fine with that. But I think it's good to have one other person besides me that has access to that information.
I would think the co-chair would make the most sense. So you and Sarah would have it.
Are you good with that, Sarah?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, then I will take the action item to make that change and share that with you, Sarah, and that will be the LSC email will be the avenue for feedback. It will be shared with the entire evaluating council. Thank you, Mayor, for that suggestion.
No problem.
Just had a really quick follow-up. In addition, we've talked a lot about parent feedback, which I fundamentally think that's very important. I'm also looking at this Appendix G, Tina, that you referenced in the manual, and there's a lot of pieces of additional evidence that I think would be really helpful in the review. And I just wanted to kind of speak those out loud. And I know in the past we've had some snippets of evidence, which include, some of the things that you've shared, Tina, the principal reports, et cetera. But I'm also keen on looking at, in the, how we're able to access, teacher PD schedules or teacher evaluation calendars, sample lesson plans, a community partnership list. I'm just referring to those pieces of evidence that are documented on in Appendix G. So if there's any way that we can get some of that information in addition to what you've sent, Tina, I think that would be incredibly helpful.
So Mira, is that something that a person who's interested, a council member who's interested in having that information as part of their evaluation to settle on their score, should they follow up with you with that to get that information?
Yeah, so let me just think through this, because to be honest, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think technically we're supposed to agree on those things like in advance of this, because I certainly will do my best. I have to look at the list that you're referencing and what it all includes. I don't, I guess I tend to be of the mindset that I'm not going to just send something to one person. It would be going to everyone, because I don't really know the benefit of just giving something like that to one individual member, whereas everyone should probably then have eyes on it. If you could send me like what specifically those items that you think would be helpful are, that would give me a little more focus and ability to figure out how quickly I can pull it all together. I don't know that it will be tomorrow, but
I don't think it has to be tomorrow. And I know you haven't looked at it, but Appendix G lists pieces of information that are they're not extra information to compile to consider. I think they're part of principal and school function. So just like your reports, the budget information, that's stuff that is part of school function to be considered. So it's those kind of items. So not.
Yeah, but I mean, I just pulled it up. I guess I would need it's 2 pages with, multiple things under each standard within each competency. So I guess I would like some clarity on what people would be looking for or wanting, because I really don't want to, and I don't mean this rudely, but like if Sarah sends me something tomorrow and I send that out, but then someone else sends me something the next day and then I send that, like I'd rather have a list and be able to compile it all and like send it off than get pieces like one off and I don't know if that makes sense, but
And I was just, thinking what, and I agree with you, Mara. I think sending it out to the group makes complete sense. But just really looking for, those pieces of evidence that are there that helps us, to streamline kind of the review process that we have to make, as opposed to kind of pulling it out of, the reports, et cetera, which we can do and will do. But I do think, trying to piece together the PD schedule from the, the principal report, or I would say, for me, I would say it's your discretion, just as long as we have some pieces of evidence within those buckets that can help inform, that can help us, say that we had the opportunity to kind of look at this information. That's my opinion.
And when would this be desired? Like, what are we looking at in terms of time frame? I mean,
So let me propose that everyone take not right now, but take a look at this Appendix G, and it's separated into competencies. Look at the suggestions under each competency, and if you think there is something that you would like to have as part of your evaluation, or to fill a gap that maybe something you don't have, or some information, that we get that to Mira by what date? I would say a week or less.
yeah, I'm just opening a calendar. Well, you guys said you want to have your scores entered by the 31st for each other, correct?
No, by noon on the day of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Nick
You're
said
going
he could
all the way to
handle
the second. Got it. Okay, you're going all the way to the second then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if within a week I could have a list, and then, within a week at the latest, I'd get it all to you, and then you'd still have 2 weeks to look at it. I don't know if that seems reasonable to people.
I think that's reasonable. So we would expect as a council, everyone needs to look through this list and decide if there's something you would like to have, and have it to Mira by end of business on the 12th, 5 p.m. on the 12th.
Sure. And then I can turn it around no later than the 19th.
Great. Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns?
Is there anything? Are you there? Is there anything preventing us from just moving forward with a survey that's already been approved by CPS Legal?
I have to again see if, because that's outside of the regular school function information that you consider for an evaluation. I have to confer with the Office of LSC Relations, because there's a certain window and that you have to agree upon what other things you're going to consider. If it's something outside of the regular school function information, then I don't have it memorized, but there's like a certain time period and there has to be agreement as far as what that's going to be. And I don't know if those pre-approved surveys fall into that. I don't know if even doing a survey falls into that. So I have the action item to follow up with the office.
Okay.
And Tina, I believe we'd also have to vote as a council to use a survey, and we can't take a vote without putting that vote on the agenda first. So the earliest we could do it would be next week on the 12th.
Right.
Can we put on the agenda for next week a survey if it were to be, if we could get it done? Could we put it on the agenda for next week to vote on it if it were to happen?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm writing myself a note. Yeah. So I'll add a item to the agenda, and we'll either vote, or I'll let you know that it's not something that's optional. That's an option at this time. Okay, anything else? Okay, I think we have our process going forward. The next item, I can't remember if I mentioned this at the beginning. I may not have. So the next item on the agenda is the updated bylaws and discussion. And just to touch on this quickly, there was some follow-up information needed from CPS Legal, and Sarah is set to meet with them tomorrow. I believe you said, Sarah, in the next couple of days. So we'll take this up. There's nothing to vote on at this time. We will take it up at the actually probably at the June meeting, because that meeting on the special meeting on the 12th is going to be pretty packed. So we'll take it up at the June meeting. Okay, the next item would be the committee updates, with which we are foregoing, nothing to review at this time, pending input based on the final CIWP we'll be reviewing next week. Which brings us to item 9, public participation. Matt, could you please read the blurb?
Members of the public are welcome to make comments and ask questions, but must sign in to participate. The public is called upon to speak in the order they sign in. The public is kindly requested to limit their comments and questions to 3 minutes. Based on the comments or questions, the principal may address some concerns directly and, if necessary, create an action step for the LSC to follow up with the involved parties at a future date. While the LSC will do its best to address any comments or questions when necessary, more time may be needed to adequately address a particular concern.
Okay, thank you. Mira, do you have the public participation?
I do, Mac. I just saw your email too, and I just emailed you. Sorry. No one signed up.
Okay. All right. That brings us to action items and next steps. We have a lot. Sandra, did you want to tick through them, or Mira, did you have them all written down? How do you guys want to do this?
I can read you the ones I have. I'm probably missing some. I have committee action items moved to June meeting. To investigate whether LSC can distribute a school-wide survey to request input for principal evaluation. And then add agenda item to May 12th meeting regarding vote on school-wide survey as applicable. What am I missing?
Oh, okay. So I also have just going through the different items. Okay, from the budget report, or the budget information that Mira sent out, she's going to provide a list of the diversity and culture texts that were purchased or will be purchased for the classrooms. She is going to send out information about Cornerstone. Let's see. Also, let's see. Mira is going to give some thought and let us know if there's more information that she'd like for us to consider for the evaluation besides the principal reports and the different information that's been provided to us over the course of these meetings. I am going to update the email password and share it with Sarah for an avenue for feedback from the community to consider during evaluation, and anything received will go to every member of the council except Mira. Let's see, I'm going to follow up with let me know if I'm going too fast. I just realized that you're trying to write these down. I'm sorry.
No, I got it. Go ahead.
Okay. Also, action item, I have to follow up with the Office of LSC Relations about possibly doing a survey. An action item for all of us is that we're going to go through Appendix G and identify those pieces of information we would like from Mira to supplement our consideration for filling out the individual evaluation scores. And we're going to indicate to her by 5 p.m. on May 12th what those additional items are. And then she will send out those items as available by the 19th. Let's see. Oh, and then there was the old action item for Nick. Now, Nick, I don't know if that was just a follow-up information, or I mean, are those enrichment activities even still available now?
I was gonna say, because I remember talking about it at last meeting.
Did it last time.
At the very
Right.
end, and I said, oh yeah, I did reach out. I had said I would reach out. So I reached out to the teachers whose programs are still running, because in effect, like, I know debate is over, yoga finished today, third grade drama is over. So like their programs are starting to wind down. But I did ask the teachers to connect with the students and to reach out again at the beginning of the fourth quarter, just to see like what the interest was. And I know a couple got new students, and I know like.
Oh, you went on mute.
Sorry about that. My headphones just died. Many meetings today. I know like Ms. Taguchi and her anime club, I think, got a couple more students from another grade. And I know Ms. Fitzsimons, I believe, just extended her math support group with fourth grade. I do know they reached out, and I do know some more students have joined. So
okay, I think the discussion point last time was I think the initial initial communication was through students rather than through parents. So they reached out to parents with that fourth quarter outreach.
That I can't guarantee.
Okay, because that was the
I will say next year, again, like everything, next year, fingers crossed we get the grant again, and it'll start in the fall, and we can do it like we've done in previous years, where I know like we put it out in like the principal post. It was like, here are all the availabilities, the programs, here's how you sign up, kind of how we've done with JCC and everything else. So,
well, considering that a couple of students were added, I think it's worth it to go ahead, since we're not too far into the fourth quarter, whatever's still going on, to go ahead and either include something in the post where it goes to parents, or through the room parents, to have some kind of parent-centered outreach to let them know about those activities. So if you could follow up on that, that would be great.
Yes. And I think one more action item, I will be sending out the principal eval online form. I'll send you the draft of what I'll send out, Tina, that way you can see it first and make sure everything seems good, and then we can send it to the whole council.
Okay, sounds good. Mira, did you have any others? No. Anyone else?
I had one just to follow up with our initial comment. Oh, I'm sorry, Kirsten. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh wait.
You had your hand raised. Go ahead.
Oh, the logo has been voted on, correct? Is there still time to vote to get spirit wear in before the end of the year, so that the 8th graders have something to show for the name change?
I'm working on that with the 8th grade teachers.
Okay, great.
Oh, that's good news. Okay. Sarah?
I just wanted to circle back to the earlier conversations about seeing the possibilities of any type of way we can use some of those spend on funds for SEL.
So would that action item look like, because we've approved this use as outlined to us, so is it a matter of Mira brainstorming to see if there's something that would fit into these categories or into these decisions on how the money would be spent? I'm just not sure what that looks like.
I know that when we had the initial conversation, Mira had mentioned, she can look into the possibilities. So it's open, and I just wanted to come back to that point of conversation.
Is that a clear action for you, Mira? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll just clarify, happy to think through it, happy to get, it would likely be from internal accounts, not from the funds that we just voted on, because we will not have time to repurpose these funds that we just voted on, just due to purchasing timelines and transfer timelines and all of that. But I can certainly look through internal accounts or think through it. It would have to be part of next week's meeting if it's going to happen at all, because we won't have time afterward. So it's not a guarantee that it can happen for this year. Perhaps I can work some things into the fall budget, but I'll give it some thought in the next week for sure.
Thank you, Mira. And I also wonder, just, I know it is such an awkward time of the year. And as we move forward and thinking about, you know, budgets or ideas, how we can really fold in enough flexibility to be able to make changes. But once again, I know that this is such a hard time of the year. So just thinking forward. Yeah.
No problem.
Is there anything else? Okay. The next meeting will be the special meeting for budget and CIWP, which will be May 12th at 6 p.m. Next regular meeting will be June 2nd at 6 p.m. Next item on the agenda is to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, please. All those in favor, raise your hand. Oppose? Abstain? I'm assuming the count is unanimous, Sandra?
It is.
Okay, thank you everyone for a really productive meeting. And we'll see you next week.
Happy Mother's Day to the moms.
Take care, everyone.